Hey, good morning, friends. Today, my friends, is Monday, June the 16th, 2025, and the time now is 7:50 a.m. Now, friends, I want to talk briefly about the Trump parade, and I want to talk specifically about the fact that many have been talking about whether the parade was a success or not, or about the fact that the parade has basically helped divide the American masses, the American populace. Now, friends, today, as I said earlier, a couple of seconds ago, is June the 16th, 2025. Now, I grew up with June the 16th being a very important holiday to me. And for many who are Africans and many who are from Sierra Leone, June the 16th is known as the Day of the African Child. June the 16th, if you look at it, if you study it, and if you've experienced it, is similar to Halloween in the United States. However, when you think of Halloween in the United States, Halloween has become very commercialized and it has become a fairy tale kind of holiday in the United States. A holiday of fantasy, okay? Especially for the playful. Now, June the 16th in Africa, in Sierra Leone, the Day of the African Child, celebrates African children, their growth, what they could accomplish, capable of accomplishing or not. June the 16th is kind of like Halloween, where kids actually will dress in what they want to be, okay, when they grow up. However, unlike Halloween, where people can dress as witches, people can dress as superhero, as Batman, and all that sort of nonsense. In Sierra Leone, for June the 16th, kids will dress as a town chief, as a paramount chief, as a police officer, as a soldier, as a princess. But I never experienced June the 16th in that kids are dressing like, let's say, like Batman in a movie, or like demon, or like dead people or so. But June the 16th, kids go around to family members, kids will go to school. Their families sometimes will prepare a huge feast where all the kids will take to school, and they'll have like potluck, and they eat, they will celebrate African cultures and African children. So today, June the 16th, is a very important day that I grew up experiencing as a young kid, young child in Africa. Now, friends, I do apologize for deviating, but let me get back on track. In terms of the Trump parade, which happened during the weekend on Saturday, it was an interesting parade. First, the parade came about in terms of fanfare and in terms of criticism. Since the parade was announced by President Trump, and since the parade began to come closer in terms of the date of the event, there has been lots of criticism, to the point where prior to the parade, okay, like the week before the parade and even during the parade week, there has been lots of demonstration throughout the United States, okay? A no king demonstration. Donald Trump even make threats, okay, that if you protest, if you go to DC, you protest against the parade, you are going to be in trouble. However, people did not listen. Now, friends, despite the threat that Donald Trump made, there were parades throughout the United States in various cities against what many Americans believe is a fascist system. It's an America becoming an authoritarian country, and that the United States has no king, had no king, and shouldn't have any king. Since the parade occurred, there has been lots of criticism, but also joy. Now, I've heard many Trumpers, okay, the MAGA Republicans, and those in the MAGA Republics, they've been hailing the parade as a success, as America coming back. Now, that is an interesting thing, because honestly, I don't know where America went for America to come back. They've been talking about America first. I cannot recall any time in history when the American leadership has not initiated a policy that basically take America first. If you reflect the Trump inauguration address, he did stated something sort of in reference to the assassination, quote unquote, that took place, okay, against Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, that he was saved by God to make America great. I remember making a video, a reactionary video to that, and I was able to make a connection between what he said in that segment, that particular statement, to a Star Wars episode, okay, or one of the parts of Star Wars, when the Emperor was giving a speech, okay, in front of the Congress or so, and he stated, ever since the attempt on his life, blah blah blah, that today is the beginning or whatever, that I am declaring the intergalactic empire. And there was a thunderous applause. And my friends, as the emperor stated that, one of the characters in Star Wars, a lady who I do not recall her name, she basically stated, so this is how democracy dies, with a thunderous applause. Now, in terms of what happened during this weekend, there are many in the United States, okay, in terms of the parade, who've said and who continue to say that the parade is an example of the death of democracy in the United States. Now, there are many who've said that there hasn't been any democracy in the United States. However, to an extent, I do believe that there has been democracy or democracies in the United States. However, from my observation, democracy in the United States is only among the elites and among the whites of the United States, where they will discuss in the Congress and the various congresses throughout the United States, policy here, policy there, which basically benefit the superiority complex. However, when it comes to minority, there hasn't been democracy in the United States. What we see is just authoritarianism. Also, as much as the United States scream around the world about democracy, the United States interaction with countries and institutions around the world outside of the United States is that of authoritarianism and less of a democracy. America's interaction with the rest of the world is all about you shut the hell up. The United States will do or say whatever we want because we are the United States. We are strong and powerful. Now, my friends, many in the United States are fearing that this Trump's parade signifies the end of democracy or the end of American democracy. It is very much interesting that many are debating even the success of the parade. Many anti-Trumpers, okay, or even those who are not Trumpers, or even those Trumpers, many are saying that this is becoming more like North Korea, okay, China or Russia than it is the United States. There are those on the right, the Trumpers, who are saying the parade was a success. However, friends, my question here is it possible that what we've seen on Saturday, okay, the Trump's parade, is it possible that this is going to be a tradition? Is it going to be more of a tradition, more like a tradition in this case, that every year we could be seeing a military parade? Now, this was the first military parade. However, if this become a tradition, there is a possibility that it is going to be a big deal. And they're going to continue to emphasize, okay, this parade to the American people and to the rest of the world. Because what the United States is trying to demonstrate, as I do believe, is strength around the world under Donald Trump. But one important thing that happened during this weekend, one being that Donald Trump held this parade on Saturday, but there was a situation in the Middle East where Israel, toward the end of the weekend and during the weekend, Israel struck Iran, striking Iranian nuclear facilities. And Iran basically retaliated, and the Iranian retaliation has been very strong and terrorizing for Israel. Now, prior to Israel attacking Iran, the Iranian and the United States were supposed to be, or Iran and the United States were supposed to be beginning a talk, basically a negotiation So it is very interesting, okay, that Israel attacked Iran right before Iran and the United States were supposed to be having a nuclear talk. But this actually is similar to what Ukraine did. Prior to Ukraine and Russia having a talk, a peace talk, okay, negotiation in Turkey, Ukraine attacked Russia, okay, attack military bases in Russia, and even destroy train and train track in Russia. But it is very interesting that this doesn't seem like a coincidence. It seemed like it was all planned. But something strange is going on. Something very strange is going on in the world today. Now, friends, please tell me what you think, and I really want to know what you think. But, friends, I am going to end here. I want to thank you for being a member of the Echoing Voice community, my friends, but most especially and most importantly, all important, I want to thank you a lot for watching the Echoing Voice. Peace, my friends.